What is Nintendo's most unappreciated franchise? The franchise so mistreated, it's hardly a thought in anyone's mind outside of the die-hard tax evaders. Is it Chibi-Robo after being thrown around by poor marketing and subpar platforming in Ziplash? Or is it F-Zero getting one game every Super Blue Blood Moon? Or even a franchise we've never heard of? Let's see. Straight off the bat, I want to check out Chibi-Robo. If you've never heard of this franchise, then I'm dearly sorry. But there's a reason it's in this video. It originally released on the GameCube as an adventure game where you're a tiny robot doing housework. But don't let that fool you, because it's truly a fantastic game. It eventually got a handful of sequels, two of which were more traditional Chibi-Robo games that were on the DS. But one of them was only available in Walmart in America, and the other was never localized. Its third sequel was a 3DS AR game, which is based on a gimmick that never really had much prevalence after the launch year of the 3DS. At last, in 2015 on the 3DS again, we got Chibi-Robo Ziplash, a traditional 2D platformer starring Chibi-Robo. This is humanity's greatest sin. Whatever we did to cause the flood back in Genesis wasn't nearly as bad as Chibi-Robo Ziplash. This game takes everything the fans loved about Chibi-Robo and turned it into not even a Mario wannabe, but a desperate clone of those free iPhone Mario games littered with ads all throughout. Worst of all, Nintendo marketed this game to Chibi-Robo fans as the last chance for the franchise to survive. Yet it takes its name by spitting on the original game. This truly sets the bar for unappreciated franchises. It received 5 entries, but only 3 followed the traditional game design. And we've now been waiting a little under a decade for a new installment. So far, out of all the games we've talked about, this would definitely be my pick for the most mistreated franchise. But how about we shift gears onto Big Blue and F-Zero? F-Zero has always been one of those cult Nintendo franchises, first appearing as Mario Kart's older and crack-addicted cousin. Seriously, this game is exactly what happens when you put Mario Kart on crack. It's fast, but it only gets faster with F-Zero X, which is the next fully released sequel on the N64. This game was a powerhouse for the time period, running at a constant 60 FPS. This game is crazy. What's even crazier is F-Zero Maximum Velocity for Game Boy. I'm inclined to say this is even more technically impressive than X, since it's the SNES game running on the Game Boy Advance. Of course, it's still its own game with brand new tracks, but at last we've come to F-Zero GX, often considered by fans to be the epitome of racing games in general. And I can honestly let the gameplay speak for itself rather than list off a dozen synonyms for awesome. After this, we got 2 more Game Boy Advance sequels, one of which was a Japanese exclusive. And not for another 19 years did we get another game. But eventually, we got F-Zero 99, an F-Zero Battle Royale based off the original SNES game. This definitely seems to be a contender for the most unappreciated franchise. While it totals at 7 games, 3 of those were Game Boy releases structured heavily off the original, and the same goes for F-Zero 99. If we ignore the recent release as it's not truly a full sequel, it's been 2 full decades since Nintendo went back to the GX formula. I would say I'm glad I'm not an F-Zero fanboy. I don't hate the franchise, I don't hate any Nintendo franchise, but I'm relieved that this game isn't my ride or die, because I would likely die. So how about we check out our third candidate? Now, I would talk about Star Fox here, but I know you're getting tired of hearing the same old franchises Nintendo always pushes to the curb. So instead, let's talk about the Excite series. Starting with Excite Bike on the NES, this series is a collection of racing games in the broadest definition. The first game, obviously, you're on a bike. Later on Excite Trucks, you race on, guess what? Trucks. And again in the next game, Excite Bots, there's bugs and animal robots. In total, the franchise received 5 mainline games, with the last one releasing in 2009. This franchise is a bit more unique in that it doesn't have to follow the mechanics or even name of the previous entries. All it has to be is crazy enough to deserve the word Excite. All I need in my future is Excite Truck 2 though. This one might seem like an unusual pick, but how about the Donkey Kong franchise? Not every spin-off, but maybe just the 2D or 3D platformers, or maybe King of Swing. If we wanted to say the 3D aspect of Donkey Kong was mistreated, it'd be pretty easy, since there was only ever one 3D Donkey Kong released, and that was all the way back in 1999 on the N64. I certainly hope for a return of 3D Donkey Kong, and it may happen eventually, but I won't count on it. Now, for a little more unusual, I think the 2D series has also been slightly mishandled in the last few years. Tropical Freeze released in 2014, and at this point, we're nearly at that decade mark. Only counting the Donkey Kong Country Returns franchise, there's only 2 games. Now, Tropical Freeze may be one of the best platformers of the generation, but I want more. But you know what? That discounts some of the other franchises that are begging for more games. Franchises like ARMS. Oh, ARMS, you were loved by next to no one. Of course, almost nobody is still somebody, and that's more than I can say for myself. So I hope you enjoy it while it lasts, because I don't think anyone is expecting your return. Rest in peace, my friend. Now, how about some Punch-Out? I love Punch-Out. For a franchise with only 3 games and them all basically sharing the same name, you've left a big Mike Tyson-shaped mark on me. The last game we got in the Punch-Out franchise was in 2009 on the Wii, and with a little love, I hope it can be resurrected once more. The Switch seemed like the perfect opportunity to bring it back once more with the use of the Joy-Cons in a similar way to ARMS, but it doesn't seem like they're banking on that opportunity. You, sir, will truly be missed. Now, what about the franchises often forgotten by everyone, really? I want to do a quick fire round of franchises that still deserve a comeback, but honestly, couldn't think of all that much to say about them. Number 1, Kid Icarus. Pretty cool Metroidvania, even cooler 3DS flying game. Number 2, the legendary Starfy. I think this is technically not a fully Nintendo franchise, but come on, look at that star. He's cute. Give him more games. Number 3, Earthbound, but only sorta since the creator is done with the franchise and there's no point in milking an old cow. Just localize Mother 3, please. For the fans, not me. Number 4, Mario Baseball / Super Sluggers. The Wii game was so good, and if you disagree, fight me. And Nintendo, make another one of these games, and make sure it's not messed up like you messed up Mario Strikers. Number 5, the 1080 series. It's sorta just snowboarding and stuff, but I think it'd be really funny if you made another game in it. And at last, number 6, Nintendogs plus cats plus more dogs. I think everything mentioned to this point absolutely deserves its own sequel for one reason or another. But there's one franchise we skipped over that absolutely needs to be talked about. By somebody, eventually. So, in the end, what is Nintendo's most unappreciated, mistreated franchise? The biggest contenders are Chibi-Robo, F-Zero, and Punch-Out! And as much as I want to say Chibi-Robo, and I know how people want to say it's F-Zero, I have to go with Punch-Out! Unlike Chibi-Robo and F-Zero, Punch-Out! Has never truly seen its full potential. It's always been lacking in one way or another, and Nintendo revisiting the franchise at last could be the thing to finally tip it into highbrow gaming. But like I said, all these games deserve sequels, but especially Chibi-Robo and F-Zero. But if you disagree, hold your opinions to yourself, we don't really care. But if you know of any other franchises in need of the Switch treatment, let us know in the comments. And tell me why Star Fox needs sequels. I honestly don't know the first thing about him. Make sure to clean out the belly button lint, and as always, keep cool. Bye.